of Famers Fred Mcgriff and Scott Rolen. This weekend was yours. JP Morosi live from Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, New York. We say good Monday morning to you. You had a front row seat. I love their speeches. I was taken with their humility. You could tell it mattered so much to them. Welcome, good morning, tell me everything.
Lauren, good morning, and you're exactly right. Humility was the word yesterday. I thought that we talk about all the achievements of Fred Mcgriff and Scott Rolen, but it's also important to celebrate, really, how they overcame challenges and adversity. Fred Mcgriff, 0 home runs. His first year in rookie ball, had to go home, read Charlie Lau's book, and really get new perspective on his craft. Scott Rolen, the great story, quoting his father, Ed, "Well, do that then," is probably going to be a T-shirt here on Main Street in Cooperstown before too much longer, reflecting on how even when you're not playing your best, you can always prepare your best. Control those things that you can control. And I shared with Scott after the induction ceremony yesterday, I think all parents took a lot of quotes from what Scott said back home in the next couple days here to share with their own kids, because the pearls of wisdom from both Scott and Fred were that profound and that practical for today's kids.
Hey, you staying there all week or what? Because we got a trade deadline, JP, in a week's time, a week and a day. I need answers, and you know where I'm going first. Shohei Ohtani, right now as we stand, 8 days until the deadline, percentage he's going anywhere is what?
Lauren, it's a great question. I still think the chances are better than 50-50 that he stays, but not by too much. Now, one thing I do know as we watch the Angels very carefully, and they play in Detroit in the middle part of the week, is that we have heard speculation in recent days and weeks about the notion of a sign and trade for Shohei, that maybe he will go somewhere and have that be contingent on a contract extension. So Nate Purinton and our outstanding research team looked into this. What is the historical precedent for a long-term extension as a contingency of a trade? Turns out it's actually happened a number of times this century. Let's go back and talk about Ken Griffey Jr., a Hall of Famer himself, going from the Mariners to the Reds back in February of 2000. Randy Johnson going from the Diamondbacks to the Yankees in January of 05. Johan Santana, the great trade there, from the Twins to the Mets in February of 2008. The late, great Roy Halladay going from the Jays to the Phillies, December of 09. R.A. Dickey going from the Mets to the Blue Jays in December of 2012. And most recently, Sonny Gray, January 2019, from the Yankees to the Reds. Now, a few things you noticed there in that conversation about players. First of all, about half of those players, Lauren, are in the Hall of Fame a couple blocks away from me right now. So this happens to some of the greats of the game. But you noticed the months that I was mentioning, all in the offseason.
Yeah.
So there is no real precedent in the last 20 years at least for impactful sign and trade deals in the middle of the year. All of those trades came with 72-hour windows. So that would begin this weekend ahead of the trade deadline. So, Lauren, I believe it's unlikely that we would see a sign and trade for Shohei based on, again, the months that I just gave you and just the stature of the player. But I still believe, as we speak, the Angels have a little bit of work to do this week to get a few more wins and convince ownership and front office that they are in this to stay.
Our research department is amazing. That was a fun walk down memory lane. For me, it goes Shohei as the most intriguing, and Justin Verlander needs to be near the top of the list. Maybe a month ago when we would hear his name, everyone kind of went, is this a real thing right now?
Well, Lauren, the interest is real. And the team I'll mention right now, the San Francisco Giants, I was told in the last couple of days the Giants are tracking right now Justin Verlander. They're among the teams who are. I believe other teams are doing the same thing. What we don't know is two pretty significant variables. Number one, Verlander's appetite to waive his no-trade clause. As you recall, when he went from the Tigers to the Astros, he basically decided that in the last couple minutes before the midnight deadline. So he took that one right down to the wire. This one might be much the same. The other variable, the small matter of the $43 million he is owed next season, Lauren. So the accounting on that, how much would a new team have to take on versus the Mets having to pay some of it? These are things that we don't know for sure, but what I can tell you is the interest is legitimate.
When he went to the Astros, wasn't it seconds to spare? Because the elevator wasn't working. He said, should I take the stairs? And you know he wasn't on the second floor. Penthouse down to the bottom. Hey, no trade deadline conversation would be complete without Shohei, check, and then the White Sox, check, and Marcus Stroman always at the forefront of that conversation. Tim Anderson, what are we hearing right now?
Lauren, I think Tim Anderson is one of the most fascinating trade candidates out there. The full season numbers we know are not pretty based on his standards, but the last week has been much better. He's hitting well above 300 since the All-Star break. I watched him play a game on TV against the Mets last week. I thought he had great at-bats throughout. The stroke is back to right center. D-Row, of course, knows him well from Team USA. And also, I have to credit Mark DeRosa for this, because the more interest he's going to get is if he's able to play second base, as he did for manager DeRosa with Team USA. So whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Mariners, a team like the Toronto Blue Jays as well, if Tim Anderson plays second base, the opportunities.
Let's get on the express train, shall we? Let's go to Cincinnati. Diamondbacks. Reds. Ellie De La Cruz was given the day off on Saturday because he was struggling. It seemed like it worked. That's his 5th home run of the season, just like that, 1-0 Cincinnati. Next inning, Nick Senzel, 2-run homer. Reds back in front, 4-3.
They're one of the best watches in the sport right now.
Bases loaded for Christian Encarnacion Strand. 2-run single. Reds complete the sweep of the D-backs, 7-3.
D-backs are reeling a little.
Now, check this out from one of our insiders, Mark Feinsand. The Reds have told other teams that they are willing to trade Jonathan India for young, controllable starting pitcher per sources. My thought is, it seems like India means a lot to that clubhouse. I would be careful. I would be careful.
I'm telling you, my first reaction is don't do that, Reds. Don't do that.
Okay.
Don't mess with the chemistry of this ball club.
Yeah.
Jonathan India means a ton to this.
I agree. We'll see what happens. They're interesting, though.
No.
I love that they're selling. That they're buying. They're all in. But Lauren?
No.
Royals, Yankees. Gleyber Torres, as the Yankees were looking for the sweep. 16th home run of the season for Gleyber Torres. Left this game with some hip tightness, but he seemed to be okay afterwards. Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo.
He swizzle.
That is his first home run in 45 games, the longest homerless drought of his career. Oswald Peraza.
The silent treatment, I hated it 20 years ago. I hate it still.
Yankees go on to
Everyone
win
stopped doing
8-5. For Rizzo, this is his first 4-hit game as a Yankee. Dodgers, Rangers. Dodgers looking for the sweep. Max Muncy, grand slam. He's got 3 grand slams this year. But here come the Rangers. Friend of the program, Nathaniel Lowe. Ties the game at 4. Next batter, Josh Young, also a friend of the program. It's 5-4 Texas. And then Ezekiel Duran. That's off the wall. Rangers go on to win 8-4. You had a throwing error mixed in. Martin Perez is averaging a little more than 8 runs per start. That is the most in baseball. By the way, Rangers, Astros tonight in Houston. Phillies, Guardians, Andres Jimenez. Solo homer. Guardians take a 2-1 lead. Then Josh Bell. Oh, who's that playing over there at first base? Is that Keith Hernandez? No, it's Bryce Harper.
He looks super
Yeah,
comfortable
absolutely.
over there.
Nice play.
We've seen him practicing there for months, though.
And then Harper, I mean, this is what we're used to seeing, him coming through in the clutch. Phillies go on to win 8-5. This was Craig Kimbrell's first blown save of the season, but the Phillies pick him up, snaps the 4-game skid. Blue Jays, Mariners, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 2-run homer, his 17th. We're tied at 2. Brandon Belt has come out of the All-Star break, hitting the ball nicely. Teoscar Hernandez got a glove on it. The Blue Jays take a 3-2 lead. Then Dylan Moore, pinch hit, RBI knock, ties it at 3. In the 7th, Santiago Espinal. That squirts through. Friend of the program. Blue Jays go on to win 4-3, avoid the sweep. They split the season series at 3 games apiece with the Mariners. Pirates, Angels. Shohei Ohtani, goodbye. His 36th home run. He's on pace.
Tired of putting that thing on.
I think so. He's on pace for 58 homers.
Like, I got to wear this hat again.
Andrew Velasquez, 3-1 Angels. And then Luis Rengifo. He went deep from both sides of the plate. Angels go on to win 7-5. Shohei